I've got Charlemagne with me today and thought we might do something a little different. So we both actually come from Raid and we've enjoyed that game for several years. So I thought it might be fun to get him on and talk about some of the stuff that we think Raid got right. And so we're both in the middle of enjoying the Godforge Alpha and uh, yeah, really enjoying that. And then, yeah, Charlemagne, you want to just give a quick introduction of some of the stuff that you're doing?
Yeah, hey, what's up, everyone? Thank you, Raven. Appreciate that, brother. Yeah, so I am a pretty fresh content creator on the scene. I cover primarily and pretty solely Godforge, but I am a 5-year free-to-play Raid Shadow Legends player, and man, I've seen it all. So excited to be here on the channel with you, man, and just kind of talk about what we think Raid did right.
Yeah, I've been wanting to do this for a while just because Raid gets a lot of hate, obviously, and but a lot of us playing Godforge came from there. I mean, that's where say how Haze and stuff came from, and uh, yeah, I've had a lot of fun with the game. So my number one thing is this might be less true of some of the newer bosses, but I feel like especially with all of the original bosses, they did a really good job of balancing the easy to understand but hard to master. And so there's a lot of depth there that it's complex enough that to really do a good job, it's pretty complex and difficult. But the basic mechanics are actually pretty easy to understand. Um, so Dragon, basically, okay, Poison does a good job against him, and you try to make sure you've got enough stacked up that he doesn't do a super powerful attack like that will take him down. Or the Demon Lord, you've got to deal with the stun, but you can figure out what's going on in the fight. It doesn't feel so complex that you don't know what's going on. Whereas that might be a little different with like Chimera and Hydra, where it is hard to follow what's going on. I think the community is mature and stuff now that we've managed to figure it out over a couple of years. But I think that's something they did really good is just easy to understand, hard to master.
Yeah, right. It's like at the beginning of the game, everyone was pretty new, and you know, Raid Shadow Legends obviously is not the first game on the scene to be this turn-based hero collector RPG, but I think it was the first for a lot of the players, right? I
Mhm.
know, I was thinking about it the other day, and I was like, well, I can't think of. I mean, certainly, I've never given this much time to another turn-based hero collector. And so, yeah, like these mechanics and how things function, and when we were first getting into the game, like it seemed so complicated, right? It's like, okay, well, we have all these waves that these different mechanics that we have to that we have to be ready for, and then oh gosh, and then there's the boss. And now you can see behind me, I'm just running a solo team. And after 5 years, right, that's completely accessible because of the
Mhm.
different ways the game has changed. But it was so complex beforehand. And well, frankly, I just kind of threw Bedell in, hoping that he's still in his solo build. We'll see when we get to the level 20 dragon. But I think they did a great job of being able to progress, the game and how players were able to handle complexity throughout time. Because you're
Mhm.
right, we look back now and we think of like Ice Golem, Spider, Dragon, and Fire Knight, and I still think Fire Knight is one of the most like well done, created like mechanically bosses in the game, just because of all that you have to think through in terms of getting number of hits out, then managing turn meter, and Fire Knight Hard just made that even more complicated. But it then ramped up, right? Like, and it
Mhm.
took them years to get there, but it still takes all players time to progress through, where it's basic understanding into more complex and everything like that. And so yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think they did that really, really well. In fact, thinking through exactly where Godforge is, because obviously that's where our interest really is right now.
Mhm.
Fafnir and Golden Guardian aren't the equivalent of the dragon, and let's say we'll just say Fire Knight as well, right? It's like the complexity of their design and everything that's going on there is very, very different, I think, and especially in terms of just level. And I think Fateless has that unfortunate reality, right, that they are building in a later age, and so they kind of have that stacked against them a bit. But I think they did design really well.
Mhm.
Um, But
What's your
yeah,
number one? Or not necessarily. So I didn't put mine in any order. So number one doesn't mean like I think this is the biggest thing, but just what's
right.
your first item?
Well, the first thing that really came to me when I thought about, what they did right was frankly the login champs they've
Hmm.
provided players all over time. And
Yeah.
frankly, even starting into the daily login rewards, right? We can get so detached from what it was like to be that first time player progressing through our accounts, logging in for 30, 60, 90 days. It almost just feels like a whole lifetime ago, right? But if you think about it, even heroes like bringing in High Katoon as that increased speed champion when you may not have had something like that on your account,
Hmm.
giving us Dark Elhane, who, when built well, is a great nuker, especially if you've only been playing for 140 days, especially if you're playing casually. But they also, give us Sylve the Drakes. They give us Vizix, who I think has really grown in power
Hmm.
actually since the game started. But then there's also the login champions, right? So those are just like, hey, okay, you logged in, here's your reward. But then over time, they've also done login champions. And, there's been contention on this. Fortunately, they did bring him back, but giving all players Ninja. I mean, that was a huge thing. Ninja's such a powerhouse to all accounts. And even new players now can log in and get Sun Wukong, who is a great damage dealer, particularly for Arena, but also has his utility in other parts of the game. And so, just honestly, Raven, as I think about starting an account now and all the resources, especially heroes and power that you are given or have the accessibility of getting, it's just great.
Yeah.
I think they did that. I think they handled that really, really well.
Agreed. And yeah, there's so many of those. I mean, when doing Curse City and stuff, I still, will sometimes throw in still to get some healing in there, or
Hmm.
you said
Yeah,
physics has some good
absolutely.
uses. They actually give
Yeah.
you good things, and then they space it at, being login rewards. I think it's fun too because just if I log in and play 5 minutes, I'm progressing towards a reward there,
Yeah.
which I like that too, where different doing little stuff
Yeah.
helps progress your account.
Yeah. Absolutely. I know Ninja for me is at least still a powerhouse, is still like a top 5 damage dealer in my account. So no,
Yeah.
I get it. What else, man? What else were you thinking?
Yeah, so sort of in line with my first one of easy to understand, hard to master, I think the way they did their gear leveling system is actually quite
Mm,
brilliant. And so, just it's easy to understand, like, okay, the different rarities have different number of substats, and that's clear. And then when you go to level 4, 8, 12, 16, different ones of those level up. And so getting exactly what you want from that's going to be uh, challenge, very rare, but it's easy to
mhm.
understand. There's not any, um, it's not hard to figure out what's going on here. Hey, this is turning out
Right.
might be a good piece.
We'll see. Oh,
Yeah,
not quite
better,
yet. I mean, I'd still use that. I
maybe.
could still use that. Maybe. Yeah, I'll probably, the traditional stored on my account for a year and finally, delete it to save some
Yeah.
space.
So, yeah, I think that it's not hard to figure out what's going on, but then it kind of automatically makes, the rarity sorts itself out. I think
Hmm.
that's a really pretty clever system.
Yeah, I think it is nice. There's a lot of potential issue with this one, right? Because, it can take a millennia to even get like the stats that you want. I
Hmm.
remember, especially early on, and I don't even farm for speed gear anymore. I would rather have protection sets and things like that more often than not. But, all the time spent in Dragon just trying to get speed sets, trying to get speed substats, trying to maximize all of these things, and it just became such a challenge.
Hmm.
And so I agree with you in the fact of like I like the gear sets in terms of higher rarities provide higher chances of getting the stats you want, of being able to put 4 rolls into one. And I like what they did with mythical gear as well, right? So you get a piece of gear with one stat already boosted. So you basically
Right.
get a free roll into some stat, which is nice. So, like looking at this feral piece, it's like, okay, great. Like if I somehow rolled 4 into crit damage, I'd actually have 5 rolls
Yeah.
into crit damage. And for those of you who may be like new to this genre, or like maybe exploring Godforge for the first time, and that's how you ran into Raven Pyrus and myself, when we talk about a roll, we're talking about the random chance of getting additional stats into a particular substat. So at every 4, 8, 12, and 16, we get an additional stat. So you'll see here, if I were to instant upgrade, right, and go to level 4, it's going to take me from 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. And you notice I don't get additional stats until 4. And so that's where the randomness in gear kind of pops up that Raven you're talking about. Fortunately, Raid finally, way too long into its existence, gave us auto upgrading, which, okay, great. So there's a crit damage roll, and at this point, I'm going to go to 12 and see what I get. So, no, I think
I didn't say I really liked that the way they did the random currency amount that it takes to upgrade them, but I do think that the overall system is just like, it's the rarity, how likely it is to get what you want, sorts itself out automatically through a very simple, easy to understand system. And I think that's really clever.
Yeah, I think that it definitely is something good to highlight as well as into what you're saying, is that there's a lot that's packed into the gear system for Raid, and there's a lot of bad, right, that leaves players kind of frustrated, especially when it comes to silver cost. So no, I think it's a really, really good thing to point out. Was I think neither of us agree that the random chance and the cost of silver, that it can cost like 700K to go from 12 to 16, or it can cost 2.1 mil to go from 12 to 16. Like, no thanks. But another reason to play Godforge, though, guys, they have a set cost. You roll that thing up, you take it all the way up to 16, and it's going to be basically based off rarity, rank, etc. It's exactly what you're going to be spending. So that's a huge boon to them, to Fateless.
Yep.
Agreed. But so moving on, man, thinking about what else, it sounds like we were in different camps starting out, but our mindsets kind of continued. So I'm still thinking about heroes here. Something that I really believe Raid did right, and I think kind of a trend we're going to see, is that it took them a while to get this right, but at the end of the day, it's still was a good thing, is giving players the accessible hero of Lady Mikage. So, I mean, you'll see here on my accounts, I mean, I can even show, including Master Vault, include Reserve Vault. I mean, there is no more red popping up on my screen, right? I am a 5-year free-to-play Raid Shadow Legends player. I've never pulled a mythical champion. I don't even know how many shards I've been able to pull. The accessibility of the shards is terrible, but they gave us Lady Mikage. And whether that was by the champions a player already had on their account, or the random luck of pulling the champions they needed to get them, eventually Raid did give guaranteed summons for all the champions we needed to be able to fuse Lady Mikage. And she is a great supporting champion. Amazing control. She empowers Ninja in all of the the clan boss content, or really damage dealing content, as long as you make your team the right way. But she's such a versatile champion. They could have given us some kind of mythical to show off mythicals in a very poor status. We know that there's mythicals that aren't nearly as great, but Lady Mikage is always near the top just because of all that she brings to a team.
Right.
So having chosen her, given players the ability to actually use her, I think that was a huge win in their book. I think they did go a little slow about it, but at the same time, it also gave those players who may not have been able to manage resources very effectively the time to have the resources they need to actually get the champions they needed. Because if anyone's kind of wondering exactly what I'm saying, over time, they basically gave the epics that we needed to be able to fuse, the epic champions we needed, through guaranteed summons, through ancient shards. And so that was, I think, 40 each. And so if they had just spammed those out, it would just have been a money grab. But they took some time. Players were able to probably gain the shard they needed, and that was a huge bonus. So love Lady Mikage. Glad they did it that way. I think that they handled that well.
Agreed. Yeah. There's a lot of both of those together. There's a lot they do to make it possible to progress your account as a free to play player. Also, the pace might be slower, but overall, I think they do a really good job of that. And I think is a big part of their success that you can stuff is tuned to still be fun
Right.
at the
I mean,
pace you can
if
do
we're
at a free
just
to play.
talking about accessibility, I do not have fusions on my list. And I think when I was looking over yours, I don't think you do either.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of issues. Like people can come out of the woodworks talking about what they feel, how they feel about fusions. So not going to get into that. But even if you just like, if you look at my account, right, and you look at like what is powerful, like what I have. I mean, Mikage is guaranteed. Noel is a fusion. Nishak is a fusion. Thor,
Yep.
maybe one of the greatest fusions of all time. You know, that's up to you, person watching this video. But Scorid, fusion. Tholan, fusion. Like it's just, you can see. And then there's Artak, right? Login. Ninja, login. And I mean, it's just all of these things that through either time and commitment or resource management,
Right.
any player could get. Right.
Yeah.
And so it really does go to show how much, you know, Plarium and Raid can give a player when they are stewarding their account well.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. So yeah, but and sort of fits in with my number 3, which is they give a lot of long-term goals and ways of progressing your account. And so one of those I might touch on is just the missions. I don't know how far you're on those, but so like, you know, you start out with the Arbiter missions, which is, you know, it's
very manageable.
It's a long goal, but it's achievable. Like you can see the path. Okay, I can get here, and it just gives you that, you know, some kind of direction on what to do to progress your account over a long period of time. And then then they, you know, those kind of upgrade with the Romantic missions and now the Marius missions, and the rewards for those, all 3 of those are actually good. Like just both the things you get for each individual card, and you know, as you meet the milestones, like the Arbiter is still a very good champion. Romantic is a unique champion that you can do. You know, I mean, there's that other character now that does the block passives, but and then of course Marius I think is super strong. And
who do you have of those 3? I mean, obviously you have Arbiter, but
I have
do you have
also
Romantic
now? I'm getting close on Marius, but still always out.
I know, I'm playing the good old RNG dungeon fight of the Iron Twins Fortress, just waiting for the resources to drop.
Yeah. And then, so I really, because I like in general things that, well, you know, give you some direction over time, you know, where it's like, okay, this is something I can work on. You know, I might choose to work on a bunch of different things. I think that's what a lot of us like about these games is you do have a lot of options of where you want to push, but just they give you some direction on that. And then I also like things that just move your account forward over time. And so, yeah, it's controversial, but I even like the Great Hall where it's like, okay, because I've done a good bit of PvP, I can put resources into this and know that, you know, these type of characters on my account or in this particular content, I'm stronger now. So,
yeah, no, absolutely. I think, you know, they do a good job, and it's interesting. It's like when a player is in the muck of an issue, right? So like I could complain about Ramantu, you know, to my clan, I've complained about Ramantu and being like, oh, I just can't get into gold 1, you know, 3v3. And, you know, I still think it's frustrating. And, you know, that particular arena mode needs some serious work. But that aside, it's like, you know, when you're looking at the Great Hall and you're saying, oh, but this is just so much and I don't even like PvP and everything. It's like, okay, well, you know, like you can either work then and farm more gear and perhaps get better gear to get those kind of stats, or you can just play PvP and potentially maybe find something that you like about it and also get stats that way. And it gives players other goals. I was talking to a buddy of mine just a couple weeks ago. I think it was during the Titus fusion. And for one reason or another, I think he had like run out of shards and he was like, yeah, I can't do this fusion. But it's okay Marius is my fusion. And, and so it turns out, like, he basically put all of his attention on his account into getting Marius right
Yep.
now. He's just a couple further than I am, and that's his goal, right? I'm kind of doing it on the side, especially right now while I'm waiting for the resources from Iron Twins to randomly drop for me. But it's like that shows the player's choice and where they want to progress their accounts. I could focus all my attention on PvP, live arena even, and get the area bonuses up. It really just all depends on what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of like direction when it comes to players at the beginning of the game, but as they get into like mid and high, it really just opens up in how they want to progress their account. Yeah, so when it comes to like progressing your account, right, there's a lot of markets in the game that give us accessibility into some resources, right? Some are better than others, some are completely worthless, but there is one particular market that I actually really appreciate and like, and I would say that that is actually the clan shop. So, there's energy, there's silver, there's accessories, there's shards from time to time, books, all those kinds of things. And granted, we could easily say that we want more. Fine, great. But what I really wanted to highlight is how much clan gold Plarium is basically throwing at players now, right? It's like we get clan gold from multiple clan bosses. We get it from our clan quests. Like, it's coming in from so many directions now that it's like, okay, I know that on clan shop reset, I don't even necessarily have to worry about what may or may not be there. I know I'm going to have the clan gold to be able to buy 1,000 energy if it's that week. I'm going to be able to buy 4 million silver, which, let me tell you, free to play. You can see that I have a lot of silver now, but like the entire life of my account up to maybe like 3 months ago, silver was always an issue. I was always under 20 million, always just like, okay, I need to get enough silver for the next gear enhancement, etc.
Yeah.
But having that clan gold being super accessible, having it being coming in from multiple avenues of the game, and allowing players to be able to maintain that pool so that those resources are just being able to basically be freely given to them.
Right.
That's a great thing. And as I say that, even I do think through like, that obviously isn't true necessarily for early game accounts, right? But it shouldn't be. Right. It should be something that is worked up to, and that over time, as you're reaching mid game and you're part of a clan and you're working to take on Chimera, and y'all are probably looking at, maybe unlocking Ultra Nightmare for Hydra, you're still getting those rewards.
Right.
And you may not be able to buy, energy and silver and the shard every single week, but you do know that it's going to be easy for you to buy that energy, which is one of the most critical resources in the market. And so, I think they did that really well, and it becomes a point where it's just not something you even have to worry about, which is great.
I agree. Yeah, it's a really good job of it, and just making. Yeah, because I remember even just starting out, it was like that was another thing where it gave some direction. I was like, okay, I'm gonna, work on these clan quests so that I have enough, to buy full energy next time, go around and stuff. So, actually still good rewards in there for any level of account. So, they do a good job with that. Well, my fourth thing is actually going to be the character graphics. And so there's just like so many, I think they do a really good job of this. I mean, just look at the people you have on your screen. You've got,
Absolutely,
lizard people and, Lady Mikage there was, turns into like a spider and stuff, and you got the, Yucks. Nice. I am. So, and they've got all these like trinkets on them and stuff. Like pretty much any one of them, if you just like look at them for a while, it's like, man, there was a lot of attention to detail put into these on making them, really good.
Yeah. Pearls coming out of Armands's bag, right? Like, such a small detail, completely unnecessary, but someone was like, this will add just a little good flair to him.
Right.
And it's just like all of that detail.
And then, there's a lot of variety too. I mean, yeah, you've got everything from you know this to let's see, if you scroll to the top, your um the or what's his name in top right, the slime guy. 'Cause,
Urast.
like
Urast.
yeah, Rust. Like there's a really big variety in the type of creatures and characters that they
Mm-hmm.
have, and so I think they've done a
Yeah.
really good job of that. I don't even remember his name. The other day, uh, I think he's maybe one of the Doomtower guys or something. But there's this dwarf, like flaming dwarf, has this like massive sword, like
Mm.
wider than his back, like on his back that's like chopped off. And
Yeah.
yeah, just yeah, a lot of
Oh wait, no, I
fun
haven't. I
characters.
haven't summoned him. What am I talking about? I am definitely saving him for a pull later on.
Yeah, this guy.
Granjar.
Like so
Yeah,
cool. Like this
yeah.
massive
If
sword.
only he was as powerful as how cool he is.
Yeah. Like that sword, like um so yeah,
Yeah.
just a whole lot of variety and and there's even the creatures with the um you know Ryan hide or yeah, dogs and uh
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So I think they just did a really good job.
Yeah.
A lot of very unique
One of the
champions.
favorites,
Yeah.
little Miss Annie. Just yeah, crazy design. I mean, Raid is over the top, right, when it comes to design, and I think so. Actually, my number 4 fits perfectly into that, and that is just art design and theming.
Mhm.
So right, it comes first and foremost in the heroes, and I think a lot of players really think through this idea in terms of how Raid designs their heroes. I think that is something that they've always given a ton of attention to and really shines brightly for them in terms of something that they do well, but also just in how they like take the theme and the concept of what Raid Shadow Legends is, right? It's like, okay, what is the world that we have built and
Mhm.
how does this hero fit into it? You know, think about like even the events we've had. So we had like Dragon Hunters, we had Alice in Wonderland, we've had Asgard divided, and particularly when it comes to Alice in Wonderland, all those heroes, right?
Mhm.
That could have been such a cheeky little like weird
Right.
moment for them to bring in these heroes,
You got the white
but
rabbit and yeah, like you
yeah,
might be
but
like, what in the heck?
instead yeah, they take these heroes and completely like make them their own, fitting them into the theme and style of Raid Shadow Legends. And it's just an incredible thing to see. Like I just think they've done that so well of
Yeah.
maintain they say, they know who they are, right? It's like, a completely different genre, but you think of like the BR scene and you think of like Call of Duty Warzone or even
Mhm.
Fortnite. I mean, especially Fortnite. But it's like now Fortnite's art design allows for a lot
All
of
right.
various IPs to come in still fit in terms of design and like animation style, but even still it's watered down the original look of Fortnite so much by how many IPs they've brought in that it's like, okay, yeah, let's like run around and as a Dragon Ball Z character while also like shooting at Deadpool or
All
something
right.
like that, right? Or Spider-Man
Yeah.
or whatnot.
And then you've
And it
got
just changes the scene. Yeah,
Artemis over
and
here or
then you
something.
got yeah, and then Call of Duty, and right, and like this actually kind of points to some of Battlefield 6's success right now. But like Call of Duty, you have like all these absolutely ridiculous skins running around Verdansk, and it's just like players, at least more mature players, and when I mean mature, I mean more aged, I guess I should say, people who have been around the gaming scene for a while. And I think this really can hold true to many genres is like we want to play something that knows what they are.
Right. Yeah.
And bringing it back in is that Raid knows what they are.
Yeah.
From hero to dungeon to clan boss, the theming, the style, the everything, it all fits together really well. You don't go to a single part of Raid Shadow Legends and say, what were they thinking when they let this art design get through? Like, this doesn't make any sense.
Right.
No, everything, it goes together really, really well. I think
Agreed.
they've done an exceptional job of that.
Yeah, and I think you were talking the other day even about like Chimera, just the amount
Mm,
of like work and in the animations and everything that had to be put into that to make these four different forms like all kind of work together and fit together and animate together is really impressive.
yeah. Oh yeah. You know, again, guys, we're not talking about mechanics, right? We're not talking about anything like that. We're just simply talking about art and design. And yeah, like, it's such an incredible job, I think, that they did with Chimera. And also, like, you think through again, like, what a chimera is and what we've commonly seen it in, like, mythology and imagery and everything like that. Raid made it their own.
Yeah.
Like, when have you ever seen a chimera look like the Raid Shadow Legends chimera looks like? I
Mm,
mean, the ram, I mean, look at that thing. It's crazy.
yeah.
This is one of those things. Is like, if my kid were to walk into the room, I would definitely like minimize the screen, because it's something like out of a horror game or something like that. It just looks so, it can look so creepy. But again, it fits the vibe. It fits what they've done.
Mm,
It's the whole the great void, and they just nailed it.
yeah. Agreed. Well, if I was going to be the Doom Tower, um,
Mm,
I think they did such a good job with that. There's um, and it's kind of a layer of a whole bunch of different things that I did with that. Yeah, just really impressive. So first off, just the sort of very gradual increase in difficulty that you get with it is fun from the beginning, where it's like, okay, I'm working through this content, it's getting to harder and harder. Um,
mhm.
this was able to clear it this way, but can't clear it this way, so I got to figure out how to get a little stronger or just use different characters. Then
Yeah.
you've got the secret rooms that give you sort of reasons to build different types of characters, where it's like, okay, I need um, yeah, there's a few of those that I don't really like, but in general, like, okay, I
Yeah.
need to use these certain types of characters, and I actually like that with like, the the faction wars and even Curse City, where it's like, okay, I've
Mm.
got additional reasons to build more characters. I don't just use certain ones for it. And of course, the bosses in Doom Tower do a really good job of that too, where you can still use any of your characters, but they have unique enough mechanics where you need to figure out, okay, what champions do I need to be able to defeat this boss, because there's challenging stuff about it. And then the rewards,
Absolutely.
I think, are really good too. I mean, you get sacred shards and legendary books and hard to get resources from it. But then the way that it's done, where it's spaced out over a month, it doesn't like inflate the economy. You can't just farm it like crazy and make it, or
Mhm.
this is the only part of the game that makes sense to spend your time.
Sure.
Because I think spaced out, when you space rewards over time, it gives you a lot more. You can give more generous rewards because you're not going
Mhm.
to ruin stuff with it. So I think they've done that really well. And then building into that, gear progression too, where you can get the crafting resources to make, several different types of gear, and you have some choice there, where I'm going to spend my extra silver keys on which boss I want to spin it on to get the resources for the gear sets that I want. I think there's a lot
Yeah.
of things that altogether make for a really, really good piece of content. And again, it's also, I've got it pretty well conquered now, but for a long time, it gave that direction I mentioned also, of like, okay, this is something I can do to progress my account, is, get further in this piece of content. So then I'll get, better rewards next month because I'll be able to get further in it and stuff. So,
Yeah, I think I would say that Doom Tower is probably potentially the best piece of content that Raid Shadow Legends has ever created. I think it was accessible, long term growth for an account, because
mhm.
there are shard rewards, there's skill tomb rewards, there are champion rewards, and you nailed on the head, right? That there is complexity to the to the design, there's complexity to the requirements of various areas of the game, and you can't just blast through everything with the same team, especially when it comes to secret rooms, the different bosses. I think there is one particular boss in the Scarab that I still to this day can't stand the Scarab King, but especially in Centranos. But all in all, though, it is an incredible piece of content. Now, you can say what you want about like how things could be unlocked for you as you like complete it. And do I wish that I could, farm, the highest level of Dark Fae from the very beginning? Absolutely. Or at least choose my rewards or something along those lines, that I'm not having to basically just like wait until the end to be able to get to that area where I can effectively farm the resources to get some kind of gear later on. And then there's other rotations where I'm not farming for gear at all because I just don't care about them.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, there's a reason why Godforge created the caverns, right? There's a reason why other games have tower systems.
Mm-hmm.
It just works. People like it. It's a good way to build in growth and challenge and provide, just a change of pace, I think, over time. So no, I think you're exactly right, dude. I love Doom Tower. I've loved it since it started. There was never a moment where I thought, man, I just can't stand this thing. I don't know why they made it. It's such a frustration. Every boss has unique mechanics, all those kinds of things. Really, really great content. I would absolutely agree.
Yeah.
Assuming that Bommel doesn't absolutely destroy my team, but this is also early Bommel, so it definitely shouldn't.
So what about you? What's your fifth thing?
Yeah, so my fifth thing, I'm just gonna end it on a huge contention point. And that is summon rates. So
Hey, I'm glad you said this. I wanted to say this.
dude, let me tell you. So let me get out what is not good about summoning in Raid Shadow Legends. And it is the number of champions and the accessibility of particular champions when we go to summon, right? Like that doesn't work. There are too many champions so that when there's someone or something that I really want to like invest my resources in, the odds of me actually getting that when I invest more than I typically would aren't high enough because of just how big the pool is. However, what my point is the general summon rates of shards and Raid Shadow Legends, right? So you go in here and you see, okay, well, we have a 0.5% chance of getting a legendary champion from an ancient or a void shard,
Right.
or a 0.5% of getting a mythical in primal. Now, these rates I think are perfect because it gives an opportunity for a 2x boost to make it feel like it's impactful, but the accessibility of the shards are a whole nother issue. What I want to talk about here is that these rates enable the success of pulling a hero to feel like a big moment on an account, right? Like we've all played the games where it's more on the side of the market is too saturated with summoning resources, and you're pulling like legendaries and high rarity heroes left and right to the point where it's like, okay, well, you now have everything on your account or you don't need anything else. And so then the next challenge is already like in the bag because you're not having to think through and really like go for new champions or anything like that. I did probably my first and last Raid Shadow Legends, summoning video not too long ago when I was pulling for Senna, and you've seen based off of the content I've had in the background that I actually got her, which completely, I mean, my reaction, it could not have been a more like genuine, like unplanned reaction. It was ridiculous, but it's just like I was literally talking about how messed up the whole like summoning system is, and it really the progressive system and things like that. And then I just happened to pull her, which was absolutely bonkers. But that feeling of actually pulling something that is like account changing is so big, and frankly,
this is like
even
even 5 years in, like this, it's not like, okay, man, it's taken me 3 weeks to get all these champions, and then you're done.
Well, and the nice thing is they do bring out new champions that are really great champions,
Mm,
but it does cause the issue of, okay, well, how do we, get these new champions when there's still so many old champions, and all of these things. There's lots of things that could be tweaked, and I hope that Godforge really takes a hard look at that. But yeah, just in the general sense of like what it feels to actually pull the high rarity feels good
right.
inside of Raid.
Yeah.
And just like that one segmented feeling, that one that is a result of the summoning rates. I think Raid Shadow Legends did that right.
I agree.
And yeah,
Yeah.
and it feels good. Now you can talk about, well, it's gambling, and so therefore it's the dopamine hit and this and that and all and everything like that. Sure, fine, great. But it is that, value versus cost feeling. Okay, well, I am putting in these resources, this time, everything that I've done to gain things on my account, and I receive back this reward that can make or break things, right? It can just feel really bad, or it can feel really good.
Right.
But nonetheless, when everybody sees that golden flash, right, and it starts to appear, well, okay, what champion did it? It's just like this, like what? And it's either a huge elation or a huge devastation. But regardless, you're not getting that golden flash all the time, and that is what I believe Raid Shadow Legends did right.
I agree. Yeah, I think there's the big temptation to people often want stuff to be easier to get, and that think the drop rates are way too low. But I actually totally agree with you. The fact that it's rare makes it a lot more fun to get them, and then it also can shape your account, where it's like, I think my first legendary, I think, was Lord Shazar, and my first void legendary was actually, it may have been Raven, but then either my first or second was Soulless, who's, and Soulless and Lord Shazar are actually still, my arena team's built around them, and then they've been key to a whole ton of my content and or my teams, and so just having that, it's rare enough that, okay, because I've got this person, I'm going to build some stuff around it. I mean, years later, we've got so many that that doesn't necessarily, I'll pull some that it's like, I don't care about this, but
but
they're rare enough.
My first legendary was Hackhorn Smash Lord. I mean, really kind of a letdown, but at the time, like, it was an early account, right? So like getting the big heal and all that kind of stuff, I actually got to Gold Arena with Hackhorn and Geomancer, like way back in the day, right? Like, but then my first Void summon was an Arbiter right before I got Arbiter. It was the biggest letdown.
So there's some stuff too. There's a lot of stuff that I think Raid gets really right and does well. There's also there's a reason that a lot of us are really rooting for Godforge and are excited to have like an actual, big time game players and content creators making a game for making a game of this genre, hopefully take a bunch of the good stuff from a lot of the different games, as well as they're doing a lot of their own innovation into it. It's really exciting to see. And so,
in fact, that's the collab that we did on my channel. What we think that Godforge Alpha is doing right.
So if you so make sure to go over, check that out. There'll be links in the description to Charlemagne's channel and this video on things that Godforge Alpha does right, and be sure to check it out. So thanks so much for watching, everybody. Charlemagne, thank you so much for joining me on this. Everybody,
thanks for having me.
Appreciate if you like the video, subscribe. Be sure to check out Charlemagne and his channel, and see you next time.
And make sure and use ravenpyros.com, because this dude is creating a great website.
Thanks.
Absolutely, dude. No, it was great having you on the channel. On my channel, it's great being on your channel. Thank you so much for this. See you next time, everyone.
Thank you. See you.